We're less than 2 weeks away now from what could be a game-changing election.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court race has broken another spending record, and for the first time in a long time, a conservative candidate has a chance at becoming the state superintendent.
Plus, is Wisconsin ready for a potential uptick in unemployment due to federal layoffs? Lots of questions today for Brandon Scholes, who is with us this afternoon to discuss. Hi, Brandon. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Let's talk about the Supreme Court race first. It's all ads all the time. What is the current spending? What's the record that was just broken?
You need one of those little meters that goes like this that kind of changes all the time because, you know, last time we were at, what, 70 million, then all of a sudden it's 100 million. So it's safe to say we're over 100 million and counting. And there's, 10 days or whatever left. So we'll easily hit 110 maybe.
Wow.
It's hard to say because if you looked at everybody's on the air. I mean, this station, every station across the state, TV and radio, digital, social, the money's being spent everywhere, and it's simply for control of the court. This is for one seat, one race. But if you look at why they want to do this, why each side wants the majority, it is about legislation or statutes or things they want to change. And we're talking issues about abortion, way back to Act 10 that they want to say might be unconstitutional. You'll find all sorts of lawsuits about the governor's power, the legislature's power. These are all things that our Supreme Court can judge on, and they can change the law. So our three branches of government, the legislature, the executive, the governor, now the Supreme Court is a very important factor in what happens in this state. And it has to surprise you with $100 million in advertising, all sorts of things that go on in the campaign that we don't even see. Voter ID, turnout, all those sorts of things. It's all going to be about turnout at the very end. And usually this race has about a 20% turnout. So if you think about how many people showed up in the election last fall, and even a minuscule number could decide who sits on that court and what power they will have. That's why this is so amazing.
Is this also a little test to see where we're at with the national politics of it all? Are Wisconsinites happy with the Trump administration and where that's going, Elon Musk's influence, or is this a chance for Democrats in the state to say we want to get back on message?
Yeah. You maybe have heard this race referred to as it's been nationalized. It really has. I mean, it's not just us watching it, and it's not just a few people in Washington. This is across the country because this will work into other states that elect their courts. But to your point, it's why you see the Judge Schimmel campaign looking to get MAGA voters and have Don Jr., Trump, and all these other Trump folks and Musk and his money. It's for that side. And the other side, the Judge Crawford side, they're looking for Democrats. And, Tim Walz was in Eau Claire. And it's a revenge vote for Democrats that lost last fall. So it very much is, it's no longer the nonpartisan judicial race that we all used to experience. This is partisan politics like this. This is as much of a presidential or gubernatorial campaign as it is a judicial race.
Wow.
But won't that generate more turnout potentially?
You would think so. And, in the last race 2 years ago, it did increase turnout. And it's just a function of how the campaigns are able to get people to the polls. Now, when you look at polling, we found and seen in the Marquette University Law School poll that Charles Franklin runs that people really didn't know Judge Schimmel or Judge Crawford. Their favorable, unfavorables were kind of low, and you could see that negative advertising was playing into this race. So you would think that with $100 million worth of ads, people would, their consciousness of this race would elevate. And it's still questionable whether that's the case. It will be incumbent on the campaigns to turn out voters for Schimmel on the MAGA side, for Crawford on the revenge vote of the Democrats. But what also happens is there's other things on the ballot. Number 2 on the ballot is the Department of Public Instruction. And this is, if people don't pay attention to the Supreme Court races, they never pay attention to DPI. This is kind of one of those things like, we actually have a race here. This could be probably the first time where somebody who is not expected to win from the educational community, as Superintendent Underly was when she came out. Brittany Kinzer is the challenger here. And she is running a good race, and people are saying this is probably the first time where you may see an incumbent lose because of kind of what has happened in her tenure. But it also goes back to what's happened in the Supreme Court race. if this side's turning out this group of voters and this is this, that will impact the DPI race. And so if the MAGA voters turn out and Schimmel wins, I think there's a chance that Kinzer comes through. On the other side, if the Democrats run all the anti-Trump revenge votes and Crawford wins, you could see Underly sustain and win through the election. And, around here and other places in the state, you have more races. You have town councils and you have other judges and you have a referendum question on voter ID. So there's lots going on in this ballot, and you would think that with all that happening and what's happened last fall and everything that's in the news, people would be tuned in. We're going to find out what that turnout is.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about these federal layoffs and what impact it could have on unemployment here in Wisconsin. Our unemployment is about 4%. What do you think?
And we kind of mirror the national unemployment rate. So, again, what you're seeing on the federal side is a lot of reduction in force. What they call that. They're seeing people laid off, fired, given buyouts, those sorts of things. So there are people that are likely out without jobs. You see, 5 states have kind of said, okay, we think we could bring these people into our workforce. So in New York, Maryland, Virginia, Hawaii, and I'm forgetting the other, Pennsylvania. They're doing that. And if those folks are available to work, there's jobs available. At a 4% unemployment rate, there's lots of jobs out there. Now, can that happen in Wisconsin? Wisconsin, like other states, first of all, has to have the openings, and whether they're talking about state government versus the private sector. So that's number one. Are there jobs available? And number two, how will you pay for it? I mean, you got to have money. And, in Wisconsin, we are just starting in the midst of our state budget process. And that will determine how much money the state has to spend for all of its programs, including hiring state workers. And if the money is there, then they could. Right now, it's not in Wisconsin. You see those 5 states. I think people will watch them to see how those governors in their states do it. But you'll have the private sector too. With a 4% unemployment rate, people have job openings. And so at some point, if those folks are out of work, there's jobs if they want them.
Yeah. Thank you for being on with us. Look
Great.
forward to the next time.
All right.
Thanks, Brandon. Good to see you.